This man is on trial accused of raping and killing a neighbour's child. The crime shocked America so much the law was changed. In Britain, communities are now demanding the same right to know where sex offenders live. But police are worried that mob rule is already taking over.
If I had a sex offender or a child molester in my family, they wouldn't be doing a sentence because I'd have cut their throat for it.
We've also been told that there's more than one and we don't know who they are. Surely a campaign like this, if we can find out who the others are...
Worried parents gather on an estate just outside London.
We don't want vigilantes!
Local schools have just issued a warning that an unnamed paedophile has been spotted in the area.
The council's up there, they know who they are. Tell us.
We just want to know who they are so we can protect our children.
How can we see what they're doing if we don't even know who they are? Tell us who they are. We'll go and find them.
On the other side of the country, an active paedophile has brought this community in Bristol out onto the streets.
We want them all out. We want them known in the area so our children are safe to play.
We understand the concern of parents, but there is no point in us throwing away our professional judgment and pandering to some sort of mob rule kind of feeling comfortable about trying to be popular about it.
But should parents always have the right to know about sex offenders and where they live? Or does that just make matters worse by leaving paedophiles with nowhere to hide? Lindsay Rooney is leafleting her hometown of Birkenhead. She's warning people about a child abuser. He's recently been released from prison and had planned to move straight back to the area where he committed his crimes. The paedophile is her father.
When I was 15, my mum died and my dad said I've got to go home and look after my sister because she was only 6 at the time and he was working full time. And then a couple of weeks after that the abuse started. He was going out the pub all the time, drinking, coming home, doing what he'd done. It was rape, indecent assault. He said that my mum had come down from heaven and told him to do it. At the age of 15, don't know what to believe, your mum's just died. You're getting abused by your dad, you don't know what to believe.
Eventually, Lindsay reported her father to the police. In court, the rape charge was dropped, but after pleading guilty to incest and indecent assault, he was jailed for 4 years. With more than half his sentence completed, he's now out on probation. Lindsay and her husband Ian now campaign full-time for the public to be warned when sex offenders like her father are back on the street.
We thought we've got to do something about it. No one else is going to know about them, so we've got to do it. So that's when we got the leaflets made up, the 1,200 of them.
We predominantly want to work positively with offenders. We want to confront their offending. We want to break down their attitudes to these offences, which are not acceptable, obviously. And we need to have them in a stable position to do our detailed work with them, with other agencies often, so that there aren't victims in the future.
But Lindsay keeps disrupting probation service plans. Every time she publicises her father's criminal record, he moves on to avoid possible vigilante attacks. Since January, he's changed his address 5 times.
I'm trying to collect as many signatures as possible to take to the Home Secretary, so can I leave these here?
The sex offenders and offenders against children, often even having pleaded guilty, deny later that they were involved in the offences, or if they were involved, they will minimise their involvement, often project a lot of the blame onto others. And it's very important that we challenge that. That can be broken down. It is broken down over a period of time, but to do that we need regular, consistent contact with them where they are in a stable environment. We can't do that if we're chasing around the country half the time.
He's pleaded guilty in court, but he won't admit it to his family that he's guilty. No, that's somebody who can't be rehabilitated, can't even admit it to themselves. They're not going to admit it to somebody else, are they? So we're not making him any more dangerous, we're just keeping track of him.
Lindsay is campaigning for Britain to copy a tough new law recently introduced in America. The man accused of killing 7-year-old Megan Kenker was one of 3 paedophiles living across the street from her home. He's currently on trial for kidnap, rape and murder. Her parents argued that if they'd been told that a sex offender was living in their neighbourhood, they would have been on their guard and able to protect Megan. President Clinton agreed and rushed through emergency legislation, backing the campaign for the right to know.
From now on, every state in the country will be required by law to tell a community when a dangerous sexual predator enters its midst. We respect people's rights, but today America proclaims there is no greater right than a parent's right to raise a child in safety and love.
Every US state must have Megan's law on its statute books by September. But the controversial law has already hit legal problems and is on hold in 8 states because sex offenders say it violates their rights.
My daughter lost her rights in the house, and I don't care what person in Congress or wherever it is that says that we have to worry about the rights of these people. No, we don't.
We'll be back with the megaphone to chant them out.
Here in Britain, Margaret Haney, known by everyone as Big Mags, is one of the most outspoken and uncompromising campaigners fighting for the right to know.
I think every parent should have access to whatever information they've got, because at the end of the day, the children are in school 24 hours a day. The children have got to come home at night, they've got to go outside and have their recreation.
Mags Haney doesn't just tell communities when there's a paedophile living nearby. In January this year, she led angry mothers surrounding a house in Stirling. Inside was convicted child molester Alan Christie. Within hours, Mags succeeded in forcing him to move out.
We were accused of being a mob, we were accused of rioting and vigilantes. That is untrue, because before we took the steps to move Christie, we notified the police of the demonstration, we noticed the housing department, we gave them notice, and we also let the social services know what we were intending to do. So we did nothing outside the law.
The difficulty here is that, yes, I think we have a right to know. No, we do not then have a right to attack the person. And in the United States, where they have done it responsibly, the neighborhoods have responded responsibly. What has happened over here is we've had an ad hoc campaign. And therefore, nobody is taking control, and it's completely a mess.
If I find out that a paedophile is in any local community within the region, our area, I will then inform the people, and I will tell them what steps to take to remove this person out. Now, people keep asking the same question, where do we put them? That's not, we're not interested where to put them. All we're interested in is keeping our streets safe, and that the children get the freedom they're entitled to.
But they're probably saying, I don't want that person to live there. Well, they've got to ask themselves, where is he going to live? And if they're saying, well, he can live anywhere but here, then what we've got is a circle of moving from place to place to place. And at some point, that person will become, will take on a false identity or do whatever else he needs to do to prevent him being identified.
Another meeting of worried parents, this time in a village near Stirling. A local man has admitted in court to sexually assaulting a child in the village, but he's been allowed back home while the court decides what to do with him.
This man was moved in 2.5 hours. That was because their determination was so strong.
Worried about the safety of their children, parents are angry and upset. They've turned to Mags.
You either put up with the paedophile in your village or you fight to put the paedophile out. And what Anne said is right. Violence isn't the answer. Determination's your answer.
But because of that determination, some innocent people are already being caught in the crossfire. Earlier in the week, with nothing more to go on than gossip and rumour, Mags publicly branded an innocent man a paedophile.
And the boy's now obviously concerned for his safety, and that's why he's coming to see us. But I can assure you there's no evidence whatsoever. He's never been charged with anything like that, he's never been suspected, and there's no police involvement with him of any kind at the moment.
Mags agrees to go to his flat to apologise. The man she falsely accused is now frightened to go out or reveal his identity in case people take the law into their own hands.
It's been confirmed they have never ever been responsible for a child. So the only thing that we can say is we're really sorry. And hope we can convince the neighbourhood that that is the case.
Well, I hope so, because I was walking down the street and they were realising on their side of the pavement and they shout across things like bad man. I'm not the person that they think I am.
Maybe you should let yourself go a wee bit as well and start to get to know your neighbourhood instead of trying to be sort of reclusive, because sometimes when people live a recluse life or a loner, people they take the wrong meaning out of it.
500 miles away, another innocent victim of an outing campaign is builder Roger Chatfield. There is a real child abuser at large in his neighbourhood. The local newspaper recently broke the story, but did not name the man. Shortly afterwards, posters appeared falsely accusing Roger of being the paedophile.
I was absolutely devastated to see that someone had posted a paedophile notice saying, paedophile alert, Roger O. Chatfield, then my address, and then the firm's address, and warning HIV positive right at the bottom. And there was maybe 20 or 30 posters posted around Collier Road, Brentwood, Romford.
Oh, great. You got that far.
Roger has never been in trouble with the police or the social services, nor is he HIV positive. He can only assume that the posters are the result of a personal vendetta.
I just felt sick, and I still feel sick, that someone could do that to someone, destroy someone's reputation as a builder so that no one employs them, and I just don't understand why anyone would do that.
Roger was now front page news. The posters inspired a vigilante attack on his home. In the middle of the night, a brick was thrown through his daughter's bedroom window.
And I just broke down. I broke down and cried, and I hid because I was scared. I was scared for my family. I hid my family. We went away. He said they couldn't get hurt.
Roger and his family could have been spared their ordeal if the name of the real paedophile threatening local children had been published. His local authority would like to be able to make more information public.
The law would not allow me to give his name and address or a photograph. If I could give out full information, I would, without hesitation. As public protection, I think, matters more than the protection of paedophiles.
Your safety is absolutely the most important thing of all right? You're all very...
The police give children regular talks about the general dangers posed by sex offenders. But when there is a specific threat, the authorities' hands are tied.
The only protection is heightened public awareness, both from children and from parents. That isn't a cast-iron guarantee, but to be in a state of a lack of awareness is the worst possible situation to be in.
All over the country, local newspaper editors are now jumping in where officials fear to tread. Some, like the Birmingham Evening Mail, tell readers who paedophiles are and where they live.
We launched a campaign aimed at helping parents to identify problems in their children, and it became clear when we ran a hotline that one of the big issues that worried parents in the Midlands was the ease with which paedophiles could infiltrate local residential districts and threaten children. And we decided then to identify these people in our newspaper.
Where you've got papers producing their own sex offender register, I'm not sure what the value is. And if the value leads to vigilantes assaulting innocent people, then I've got a question mark about it, and I don't think the newspapers can themselves distance themselves from those consequences.
We urge our readers never to take the law into their own hands, and on all the cases that we've dealt with, there hasn't been any violence to these characters.
But last November, even before the paper carried the story, mothers on one of the city's estates discovered a paedophile living nearby. Violence soon followed.
I would like to have caused him injury like he has done to children in the past. We shouted abuse at him, threw things at him through the window, bricks, milk crates, anything we could get our hands on. Told him that we was going to come in as soon as we could gain access to his property. We was going to come in there and kill him if he didn't leave. But he still said, with a smirk on his face, I'm not going anywhere. You don't like it, you move.
My question to vigilantes is, what are you trying to achieve? And if you're trying to achieve greater protection for your child, then explain to me how that's going to happen. Because if you're chasing this person out of your street, what's to say that next week a man from another town 50 miles away who's been harassed and chased out by another group of vigilantes, what's to say that man who's changed his identity, changed his name, has come and lived in that street and you don't know anything about it? And he's not going to register with the police, because if he does that, he's going to be a victim of harassment.
When he was moved on, I felt a bit guilty, because we did have the knowledge that he was a paedophile, and I was scared that he'd be moved to somewhere, again, with plenty of children around, where they wasn't aware of it. And I did actually try and find out where he'd been moved on to, but obviously I wasn't given that information.
Karen isn't the first person in Birmingham to take the law into her own hands. Vigilantes use violence and arson to try and drive convicted paedophile Dennis Butlin from his home. They failed. Then in 1994, a fire destroyed his house. He escaped, but a neighbour's daughter, 14-year-old Samantha Pennell, died in the blaze. Later, Butlin admitted to abusing Samantha. He was sent to prison for 5 years.
She was an innocent girl caught in something that, she just shouldn't have been there.
Last month, detectives investigating the fire that killed Samantha charged a suspect with murder.
We're campaigning to get more treatment for these people. We want, at government level, much more money pumped in to the halfway houses and rehabilitation centres.
But if they disappeared because of your campaign, how are they going to get treatment?
No, the authorities are able to keep tabs on these people. That is their job.
The law will soon require all newly convicted paedophiles to register with the police. But the Home Office says there will be no automatic public right to know. Sex offenders are already warning they'll do everything they can to keep off the register, fearing that more information about them will leak out. John has a horrific 20-year history of abusing children. Outed by his local newspaper, he's now on the run.
It's like fox and hounds. I'm the fox and the hounds are coming for me. I came back late one night, and all up through the road there were posters of my offences and also going in towards the town. I moved to a different area, got a job, and life was quite content at the time. One day, on a Sunday night, we had blokes come through the front door with baseball bats. I was seriously injured. I had cuts and braces to my head, 10 stitches. My back was black and blue, and my front teeth was knocked out.
John keeps changing his address. At the moment, he says he notifies the police whenever he moves. But if he gets in trouble again, he plans to disappear.
And how will you do that?
I just won't register anywhere.
Would you go so far as to change your name?
Yes, I would.
Isn't that really because you don't fear vigilante attacks? It's simply because you might re-offend.
No, it's
and
not.
It's better for you to keep off that register so
no.
you can do exactly what you want to do.
No. I would keep off the register because I don't want to fear for my life every 5 minutes. I believe that it would get out to the community. I do not trust the register.
Communities are angry, not just about being left in the dark when a paedophile's living nearby, but because many child abusers repeatedly offend, there's growing frustration about short sentences and the lack of effective treatment.
It is not normal to want to have sex with a child. If those people do want to continue to have sex with children, then we need to look at the sentencing. We need certainly to look at the therapy. We need to look at whether we let them out or whether we keep them in until we're utterly convinced that no child will ever be harmed by them.
The man who abused these children is about to be released from prison. Mark Weaver has served his sentence, so there's little the authorities can do to keep him in. But he's already warned that he will offend again and may even kill a child.
He was a friend of my brother's. He was at my mum's every day. He'd be tottering about, buying kids toffees, playing on computers with them. They're computer fanatics, and he was always in there with them playing. The rest of the family was in the back room watching telly. And I came up and the eldest one told me that he'd had his hands down his pants, messing with him, singing a nursery rhyme.
Weaver was arrested. It was the latest offence in a long history of abuse that started 10 years ago when he molested a 5-year-old boy. In 1988, he attacked a 6-year-old. Just a year later, he was sent to a young offenders institution for assaulting another child. He was back on the streets in 1992, but within 12 months, he'd been jailed for assaulting Hazel's children. She now has to live with the knowledge that Weaver admitted raping her then 2.5-year-old son.
I thought he was going to die. I thought he might have had AIDS. I had to take him for an HIV test.
Thankfully, the test proved negative. Weaver was never prosecuted for this offence. Now he's due to be released in 4 weeks.
I can't let him go out playing. I never go out myself no more. I've not been out for years. I won't leave him with anyone, not even my mum. I don't trust anybody. So, wherever I go, they come with me.
Basically, what we're here for today is to give a silent vigil to all the victims that are being abused and that have been murdered. This has got
A protest last week outside Belmarsh Prison against Weaver's imminent release. A leaked report reveals he's told his prison doctor if a child fights back, he may kill.
and has stated that he will kill a child if the child resists.
Having seen the report on Weaver, the fact that he has said, and he has actually demonstrated, that if a child resists him, he will use force. That when he has been let out of prison before, he has gone right back to abusing children. That he fantasizes. His ultimate fantasy is to sexually abuse and to kill a child. And he is actually jigging himself up so that he will do this.
I'm frightened. I am. Not for myself. For the lads. I mean, he's done it twice already. I can't let him do it a third time, and I won't.
I would say that until we can find a cure and until we can find a good way to supervise them, can you tell me why we're letting them out? We need to talk about longer sentencing with as much therapy and help as we possibly can before we turn people loose in the community. Then you wouldn't feel as threatened by somebody moving in next door because their behavior will be under control.
If I do something, I'll go to prison for a long time. If I kill him, I'll obviously get life. I don't want that. Neither does the lads or my girlfriend. But it's a risk I'm prepared to take, because nothing else is going to stop him.
Former Home Secretary Michael Howard said turning down demands for a public right to know was the hardest decision he made in office. Jack Straw says he sympathises with worried parents, but will continue with the same policy. But without measures to build public confidence about the monitoring and control of child sex offenders, vigilante activity seems set to grow.
To know that he was no longer a danger to my child, and if that meant squeezing every last breath out of him until I knew that that was it, no longer a danger, then I think that's what I would have done.
Somehow we've got to get the parents and people to understand there's a complex area, they've got a part to play, and that part is not throwing a brick through the window of some person they suspect is a sex offender.
All I want them to know is that we're there, we're watching, we're in every corner they turn, and they will not be allowed to stay in our community. And I don't think that's a crime for us.